Good morning, everybody. Moscow American here. Getting to bring a video on a beautiful, comfortable, sunny day. We've had like an ongoing deluge for weeks now, so this is really nice. I've needed a boat to get around more than anything else recently. So anyway, this is a major upgrade. I'm down here in Moscow City. Got the skyscrapers around, so I have some nice shade, nice little draft, wind blowing through all this. So anyway, man, we had a lot going on. I was just checking recently, I think it was El Salvador Bukele, right? Posted something out, I think it was on X, I saw that was like talking about how humanity with AI, all this other stuff is now going to, I think in his words, achieve the mind of God. He was sharing a quote on there. I don't think it was ironic. It looked to me like he was being serious, but saying how, through technology and everything else, we were reaching a point where we'd be able to solve all of humanity's problems. Man, I love when we get to this point where people who are the darlings of even like the traditional conservative side, people who get celebrated all the time, are starting to sound just like the same kind of crazy, weird, utopianist people we used to hear on the left. I mean, this sounds just as utopian as anything you ever hear in Marx, right? With a little sprinkle of 1984 thrown in, because why not? Meanwhile, Ursula from the European Commission had to sign off on the brutal trade deal with Trump. I mean, talk about the European Union buckling and being forced to become basically a little vassal of the U.S. I mean, agreeing to the 15% tariffs, which was the better deal, and then agreeing to invest billions of dollars into the U.S., tons of money into U.S. weapons and arms and all that kind of stuff, plus trying to switch to using American gas and nuclear energy. Oh my goodness. There's already the reaction that it's going to just destroy Germany's industry, for example. I mean, they're already hurting because of how much difficulty there is in getting a hold of all the cheap Russian energy. Now they're going to get it from the U.S. It's going to be more expensive. Now you're talking 15% tariffs on the stuff they export. Then on top of that, their economies are going to be investing in the U.S. and in U.S. weapons. I seem to remember Merz thinking that they were going to somehow build the German economy based on creating the new military-industrial complex for Germany, right? Boost the economy, boost all the industry, all that stuff. Man, what happened to all of that? Boy, life sucks for life sucks if you're working in the industrial sector in Germany right now, man. It's well, then at the same time, though, I mean, Brazil's come out and recently put out a statement saying that they're not putting up with any of the tariffs. Basically told the U.S. to take a long walk off the short pier, and basically said something along the lines of how they didn't want to be completely reliant off of one country for their economic future. They're going to diversify. So I want to say, I remember even recently, I think even Colombia was putting out something about how they were wanting to potentially pursue other options outside of NATO. So I don't know, man. Trump's talking the big game, but I think it seems like, if anything, he's just pulling a Biden 2.0, pushing everyone away. Speaking of Trump ending up or seeming to be much more like the Democrats, the Epstein thing also, man, just refusing to go away. And every time Trump opens his mouth demanding that it go away, I swear it just gets bigger and bigger. Right. All the big lawsuit right now about the birthday wishes from Trump, alleged. I don't know about that. That's the kind of thing that could have been dug up, but still, it's coming at an interesting time, right? But the thing about it that is also interesting, I don't really believe in coincidences, right? So you then have Gabbard coming out, discussing the whole Russian collusion thing, trying to say that it was potential like act of treason by the Obama administration. I mean, okay, fine. Trump wouldn't have known this in his first term, that this was all intentional. Really, come on. So they release all this now as the Epstein stuff is blowing up? No. It's the timing is interesting. They might have been planning to have it come out. Been planning to release it, sure, but why right now? Exactly, right now. Don't believe in those kind of coincidences. But now it feels like the big question, right? All the Washington Post, I think it was, going off memory here, was releasing the stories, and they had sources that claimed that Trump only found out he was heavily mentioned in the Epstein files recently, and so that's come right before killing the whole thing, allegedly. That is an interesting coincidence, but one I hear people mention a lot less frequently is Bibi Netanyahu came and visited a few days before this whole memo from the Department of Justice leaked about there being no Epstein files and all that. I actually find that a much more interesting coincidence, considering Epstein's long-lasting connection with some, former prime ministers, people highly connected in Israel, right? What are the chances that Netanyahu comes to town just a few days before and suddenly Trump is doing his, oh, no, we can't do that. So, kind of find ourselves with two interesting possibilities. One, Trump was leading us to believe during the campaign trail that he was willing to release all the stuff, drain the swamp, go after the Epstein stuff and everything else, and then has suddenly decided he wasn't going to, which, I mean, I don't know, that doesn't seem the most logical, because if he knew he was going to be in there, why would he, set himself up for this big explosion? So that's one option. Another option might be, admittedly, that he didn't know he was going to feature heavily in there. Maybe he thought that he might pop up, but it wouldn't really be a big deal. And then later on, he found out that it was going to be a much bigger deal than he thought. So now he's trying to kill it. And then there's the other option that is, everyone's assuming, if you look at circumstantial evidence, it seems pretty likely that Epstein was deeply involved in the world of intelligence and everything else, peddling leverage, blackmail on people, working heavily with the Israelis, probably US and British intelligence too, probably not just them. But right after Trump bet his whole legitimacy on standing up to Iran, right, the four-door attack, all this other stuff, right, the best, most awesome military strike in military history or something like that, Alexander the Great doesn't have anything on us with that one right there, right? But maybe he staked so much on this and going after Iran and supporting Israel, staked everything on that. And then the realization comes out that this might not paint Israel in such a good light. Maybe they have been manipulating stuff in the Middle East, getting the US involved in stuff. That to me is probably the thing I find more likely than to assume he just wouldn't have known and he was shooting off his mouth for years about draining the swamp, but then also having it tied to the Epstein stuff. I think it's more likely that this has to do with Israel. But one idea that I haven't heard many people mention, actually I don't think I've heard anyone mention, might be that what if they're connected? What if Netanyahu in some way, shape, or form is revealing to Trump that you realize that you're connected with Epstein, but you also realize that we're connected. Maybe there's more here. Maybe Israel has information via the Epstein stuff on Trump. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe there's a connection there that none of it's a coincidence, right? Trump finds out he's in there pretty heavily, and maybe Netanyahu reminds him that he's heavily involved. You never know. I'm totally speculating at this point. But at the same time, just not a good look, right? I've seen so many people I've known a lot of people that supported Trump heavily. I was never a big Trump supporter. I voted for him the first time. I wasn't here for the last election, but I would have, because I preferred him to the alternative. I'm starting to wonder about that these days, but still. I was never a big supporter, but I've known a lot of people who are big supporters, and they're not. A lot of them are not happy. A lot of people are just saying, "It's like, man, gotta hold Trump because he seemed like an outsider. He seemed like he wasn't part of this corrupt system, and now he's seeming to be just the same." Anyway, so all that's going down. Meanwhile, though, I have to point out kind of the crazy world we live in, right? I started with the El Salvador. I'll point out, was it the brand? I had to laugh. American Eagle recently did a advertisement campaign. They were saying how it was, I can't remember if it was making a record increase in sales, but it was, at least for the last few years, record-breaking for them. Massively more successful than anything they've done in years, because they went and did the radical thing of having the actress Sydney Sweeney on there, as opposed to, like in, I think it was like 2019, someone massively overweight, pulling the whole body positivity thing, They went and got a young, attractive actress, and it's being more successful than body positivity. I found out something new. Apparently, on the male side, they're more interested in seeing an attractive young female, and on the female side, they're more interested in projecting that they could be like a beautiful, healthy young actress. My mind is blown. That one's new to me. That one's absolutely new to me. Who would ever thought that an advertisement campaign that wasn't based on body positivity stuff would be more successful? Mind blown on that one. Absolutely mind blown. Now for another story that's almost comical in a way. I was reading a report this morning that the company Altarian, defense sector, right, signed a big deal with the Department of Defense, where the Department of Defense is going to be, paying them money to supply Ukraine with 33,000 drones, or the components for the drones, or for the drones themselves. Wow, that's rocking my world right there, because just a few days ago, isn't Zelensky trying to get through that deal worth billions and billions of dollars, where the Ukrainian military-industrial complex was going to be producing drones to sell to the U.S. because the U.S. needs drones? Is this some sort of new creative economics to help the economy, right? We use our own money to buy drones, to send to them, so that they can sell them back to us. This is amazing. This might be a great new way to boost the GDP, right? Just have that money to spin round and round and round and round and round in the economy. Man, this must be how you get the GDP to go up, right? Perfect. Down economy. Just do a giant, weird, it's like economic circle scheme with this. I love it. This is amazing. I need to give more credit to the folks in the military-industrial complex for how they find ways to boost the economy. This is absolutely mind-blowing. But since we're going for, apparently right now, comical with a touch of tragedy, Lindsey Graham, of course, opened his mouth. I feel like anytime I say his name, it should be followed with some sort of foot-and-mouth ridiculous thing that follows. Anyway, he apparently put out a statement saying that Israel's going to do to Gaza what the U.S. did to Tokyo and Berlin, and take it over and rebuild it. Okay. I guess I must raise the question and say, with Tokyo, there might be one tiny little difference. I mean, you can argue whether or not good or bad, however, U.S. occupation, but when it gets down to it, I'm pretty sure when I go to Tokyo right now, there's still Japanese people there. I'm pretty sure it's now, even if the U.S. basically gave it its constitution and system of government during the occupation, I'm still pretty certain that it's a Japanese city and it's their country. the weird thing is, if you listen to what more and more Israeli politicians are saying, they're not planning that for Gaza. They're wanting it to be Israeli, with no more Palestinians. So I find there's that to be a slightly significant difference between the Tokyo situation and the Gaza situation. So I mean, maybe if we were to have gone in and forcibly removed everyone from Tokyo, brought in Americans, made it an American city, and then told all the people in Tokyo after World War II, go move, just find some place, go live in the hills somewhere, we don't care, just go wherever, get out of here. Yeah, okay, fine, that'd be a pretty good comparison, I guess. But except for that difference, not a great comparison. Meanwhile, tragically, we're getting more and more information. I want to say like the Palestinian Health Services Ministry, what it's called, is releasing information saying there's over, it's like 113 people have now died out of outright starvation. We're not talking like diseases, injuries, all the other stuff associated with this or contributing in other ways. We're just talking outright starvation now, among whom a lot of them are children. At the same time, right, we're up at over 1,000 people killed trying to get food from the distribution sites, over 7,000 injured. All this stuff happening right in front of us, and, you know, all on camera. There's reporters stuck down on the ground there, Western reporters also undergoing starvation, but nothing to see here. I don't know. It gets to a point to where you kind of don't even know what to think about it anymore. Oh well. It's quite the grim note to wrap up on, but maybe we'll have some more optimistic news coming up in the near future. Anyway, at least it's a beautiful day here in Moscow. That's all for now, folks.